It's your Wednesday night Sports Delight, the platform sports talk show. When it's about sports,
it becomes our business.
And business just picked up.
It's your boy Smooth,
B. Baker, Northside's finest.
It's your boy Stant, baby.
Every Wednesday at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook, Twitter, and on YouTube. Make sure y'all subscribe, click on that bell, because once we go live,
you will be notified.
Catalogs are they gonna come down and they're gonna beat them.
What's going on, everyone? It's the platform sports talk show. Your boy Smooth, and once again, all by my. As you see, I got some new overlays going. So our special guest, she's part of something special here as we upgraded some things on our show. Y'all saw some video and everything. Y'all got a little chat on the left side of your screen. So I got to give a big shout out to my boy, best friend since grade school, my boy Eddie Williams, man. I had like a crash course in this OBS and all that good stuff. But you see a hand right there. That's the guest. She's coming up very soon, y'all. But yes, this is the platform sports talk show. When it's about sports, it becomes our business, and business just picked up. I hope y'all are having a wonderful, wonderful Wednesday. The weather has been great. The sun definitely has been shining, and we may possibly be having some sports back very soon. So let me know your thoughts. Possibly baseball could be back very soon, having these ongoing discussions on trying to get everything together with the Players Association and the league, and Rob Manfred will have Joe Knows, in which I know she has a few things to discuss about her thoughts with baseball right now, because she's a huge definitely stay tuned to this show. And just so you know, for the chats, I'll be able to finally see all the chats just on one screen. So whether you're on YouTube, thank you very much. If you're on Facebook, on Twitter, I got you. I can see you. We already got a comment here from another Jessica Williams saying, go Mom. So that's pretty dope right there. Must be, I wonder if that's your son right there showing. Okay. Okay, I'm like, wait a minute, you got another one? Hold on now. But I figured it out. Social media, you gotta love it. So yeah, once again, throughout the show, please feel free to leave your comments, your questions. You're gonna have a good time with this, and appreciate all y'all showing love. You're gonna have fun. Let's go ahead and get right into the round table. Once again, discuss that it's very possible that we could be having some sports. So with that being said, I know I said it's possible, but in the same token, this week alone, you've seen a few athletes like Ezekiel Elliott from football and some other Cowboys players. You've seen some Houston Texans players report that they have tested for COVID-19 and they got it. So it's like, when they try to bring stuff back, will it push it back even further, because now more players are coming out getting tested and saying, I'm positive for it. A few college players, they reported that they have COVID-19. A few MLB players, unnamed, said they have COVID-19. So the pandemic, people, hasn't gone away at all. And as Dr. Anthony, I believe it's Fauci, he said there's no need to worry about a second wave because we haven't even got past the first wave. And there still hasn't been any vaccine at all to let us know what's going on. So as much as we want to have sports, do y'all seriously think that we will have sports going on throughout the remainder of the year? Let me know your thoughts on that. Other news, basketball. Is Kyrie Irving tripping? Because, and you heard, I guess, I think she wanted to dig in already. But he said that maybe we should have, forget the NBA, let's have our own league. But like Patrick Beverly said the other day, if LeBron James says, let's go ahead and do this, we're going to go ahead and do this. And out of all the leagues that has been, what's the word I want to say, that's been thinking about a proper strategy, not Adam Silver. No, that's his name. He's been the only one that's really been thinking about the proper protocols and steps in regards to making this work. So, for instance, I want to go ahead and bring this up, that this is something that they have announced today in regards to all the NBA players coming together in Walt Disney World. Shouts out to Deborah Bloom. Our guest son says, really, Kyrie? Definitely look forward to that. So, this was an outline that was today on the restart. It'll be a 22-team restart to complete the 2019-2020 season. Here are a few of the amenities. Now, based off the seedings, is where I guess everyone would have like 5-star hotels, but it'll be a specific one for, let's say, the top 5 seeds get this hotel. Then the next 5 seeds get this lower rated 5-star hotel, and so on and so on. So here it goes. Potential entertainment for players, because mind you, they won't be with their families more than likely. It'll just be all the teams, the 22 teams that's still in the playoff hunt. So you have potential entertainment for players in the bubble, includes outdoor concerts, DJ sets, movie screenings. So not just movies that's out right now, but movies that haven't even came out yet that people will have, or the players will have access to see. Live comedy, and the NBA is working with Disney on special access to Disney parks and attractions. So this is pretty much what the players will be able to enjoy during this time while they're in that hub city in Orlando. While on the campus, players can receive standard deliveries like USPS, FedEx, UPS. Incoming packages will be processed, cleaned, delivered in a timely manner, and things will be separate processed for food delivery from approved providers to get to receipts. So, sound like you'll be living the life. You'll be living the life right now if you are an NBA player. If you are a player, would you be glad about that? Because you're going to be having pretty much, they said, 24-hour VIP service throughout the whole time. Throughout the whole time you're there, unless, of course, you get eliminated. But you have concierge service. You have bowling alleys here. You have this. You have that. They're getting to something. But hopefully, with all that's going on right now, with the COVID, will it even matter? That's going to be the big issue. So let me know your thoughts on that, because it sounds pretty good. But you have people like Kyrie who's like, I don't know right now about doing it. Then you have Dwight Howard saying you got some players who are scared to voice their opinion. Because like I said, you have the Kyrie Irving, the Durant's, then you have the LeBron James and them. So it's going to be very interesting in regards to how they're going to get this played out. But hopefully everything works out. Other news, they announced yesterday that the Pro Bowl, if they have an NFL season, will be going down in Las Vegas. That'll be a first. Previously, it's been in like cities like Orlando, and before that, Hawaii. I think they have one, maybe Miami too. But it'll be going down in Vegas, home of the Las Vegas Raiders. This sounds weird saying that. I want to say Oakland, but it is what it is. But without any further ado, y'all, it is that time. The reason why y'all tuned in, hopefully outside of seeing this incredible show, which it goes down Wednesday night. Information on the bottom of the screen. Make sure y'all subscribe on YouTube. Click on that bell so anytime we go live, you will be notified. I see Kiara Rubber on here. Shouts out to you. Let me see. Shouts out to my boy. He the one who helped me out. And let's see what else is going on here. Deborah Bloom once again. Shout out. So yes, get ready, y'all. This woman here I've known since we was yay high. Yay high. Yay high. Always been great peoples. And now what she was doing before, because now she's retired and everything, you know. She's moving on to bigger and better things. But always been a positive person, and in the past we've had wonderful guests, athletes, people who play certain sports, coaches, etc. But we haven't had that other aspect on this show, and I think now is the right time because we need a little bit of cheering up. No pun intended, right? So without any further ado, everyone, let's show some love to our guest, Miss Jessica Williams. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm great. How are you?
Man, I'm doing well. Good to see you.
You too. I'm excited to be here.
Man, that COVID just stopping everything, ain't it?
Yes, it is.
It's
Everything.
amazing. It's
Everything.
amazing. So how have you been?
I've been well. The transition from coaching and all that entailed to just being me and figuring out my next steps has been a bit much. It's getting easier by the day. It was
Yeah.
very, very hard to, make that decision to walk away from something that was so near and dear to me. But life is great.
Yeah.
My kid's doing fantastic. I have a wonderful fiance.
Hey, now, shouts out to
Getting
Greg.
married in May, so things are really good.
Good. So, let's go ahead and discuss off the rip.
Sure.
Once again, oh, look at Antoine. Go, mother. He is definitely supporting. I love it. Keep them comments going throughout the whole show. Don't get it in. So, you and I, man, like I said, how long have we known each other pretty much?
I have first of all, I don't, half the time don't even know how old I am, so.
Okay, 'cause you know what I do sometimes is, I be like, okay, my son is this age, so I'm actually like
Same.
this, 20 years older.
Same.
So,
I feel like after 30, you kind of lose count.
Man.
It's all a blur.
it's amazing.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Because
been forever.
definitely I recall, the children's choir and everything.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, like 15 years has to be, at least.
Probably longer than that.
Probably longer than that.
Yeah,
Has to be.
it has to
Yeah.
be. Because like I said, since we was kids. So
Right.
you talking about over,
Yeah,
like,
maybe 20.
in between 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's been a time.
And like I said, man, you and I have always just had a nice, cool relationship.
Oh, yeah.
We have Kiara Rubber says, you look so pretty, so...
Oh, thank you, line sister.
She's shining, y'all. And
That's
just
my
so you
girl.
know, hey, we got people who watch from different states, maybe in different countries, so you're going to be famous right now. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. Antoine, just put your age out there.
Oh, awesome, son. Thanks so much.
You said, or. So he's not sure of your age either.
No, he's right. He's right.
So you have wonderful parents.
Yes, I do.
Shouts out. Give them a shout out.
Mom and Dad, I know that you both are watching. Hi.
T-Bone Funk. He former professional wrestler,
Oh, okay.
and he says that you know him.
Oh.
His is Randall Lay.
Wow.
Yes. Yes.
Randall and I went to elementary school together.
Yeah, he said that.
Yes.
He said that. So he lives in Orlando.
Oh, wow. Good for him.
So yeah, he just said never know who you know.
Yeah, shout out to Hilltop Academy.
Hilltop Academy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is a regular on the show. In regards to a follower.
Oh,
He's been on the show in person a few times
Nice.
while he was in town. He just boy
Oh, that's awesome.
a few months back. So
Aw,
he's
I
doing
love
big
that.
things. Doing big things.
I love that.
We have is that Shanna Kerr.
Shauna.
Don't judge. I'm just trying to learn the names. But Shauna Kerr, she says,
Shauna Grant, she apparently hasn't changed her
"Oh,
name. That's her maiden name.
got you. Yeah. So, like I said, man, I'm pretty sure Richie is. He's ready to comment on some things
sure.
and share and whatever he's been doing already. I'm gonna just go ahead and read out what he put a few days ago.
Okay.
Which I was like, he said, tune in Wednesday, which of course right now, as my daughter Kirkwood's High, legendary varsity cheer coach Jessica graduated from Kirkwood, and while there she was the cheerleading captain, track and field captain under the coaching of Coach Roberta McWoods, and went on to cheer at Florida A&M in Tallahassee, Florida, Hashtag proud daddy. How does it make you feel?
Oh, I love it. You know, he's always been, he and my parents, rather, have always been my biggest supporters through all the crazy decisions that I made growing up as a teenager to the more sound decisions that I've made as an adult. But, you know, through it all, they have always been that rock that I think so many people, unfortunately, don't have. So I've been really, really blessed to have the two of them
Nice.
by my side through everything.
Nice. And once again, shouts out to them. Awesome people. We've been doing a lot of special things for the church, keeping things going. So shouts out. We have, is that Dario Price?
Yes.
So it says, hey, y'all.
Bestie.
So once again, thanks for tuning in, y'all. Whether you're on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, thank you very much. Make sure y'all subscribe on YouTube. Click on that bell so y'all be notified of all the shows that we have. Let's see. What you saying?
I said click.
Right,
Click
there
the
you go.
bell.
Click it. Click it. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about your love of sports now.
Sure.
I know that you're a cheerleader.
Yes.
But before you even thought about cheerleading, when was that time in your life you was like, you know what, sports isn't that bad. I want to maybe get into it a little bit.
Honestly, my whole life. My dad was a fantastic athlete, and I just grew up hearing stories about him playing football at Soldan and going on to run track and field. He was a state finalist in the hurdles. He actually got second by maybe a tenth of a point.
I think I've seen seen every video that he ever did in life.
So I've always loved sports. I don't know that I ever grew up thinking that I would be an athlete. I don't know that I truly got into sports until high school. I went through this phase. I was super I didn't want to sweat. I didn't want to see dirt. I just wanted to be in the house in my cute dress and not touch anything. But you know, you get to high school and you start seeing all these different events and you're seeing all these people and everyone's doing all these things and it just kind of draws you in. But the first sport that I actually did at high school was track and field, of course. I just think at some point I realized it was just so embedded in my brain. It was in my DNA and it's what I wanted to do. And I really fell in love with that sport. And then eventually I fell into cheerleading and equally fell in love with that.
So track and field, what did you do a lot of running?
Yes,
Okay.
I was a sprinter.
Okay.
So the 100-meter dash, 200, 4x1, and 4x2. And so I was on the track team all 4 years, was a state finalist. I made it to state all 4 years. My freshman year I went as an alternate, but sophomore, junior, and senior year was a state finalist.
And so you're saying you was pretty dope.
I was.
So do you feel, because I had this conversation last week with my boy Dwight Whitfield, shouts out to you, in which after my sophomore year in high school, I was determined just to really work out throughout the whole summer. So junior year came, I felt like I was Morris Chestnut. I came in middle of the school year. Once it got warm outside, I wearing wife beaters in high school. I'm like, y'all can't tell me nothing. So with that being said, do you feel that you were in the best shape of your life when you played track?
Oh, absolutely. Because cheerleading and track overlapped one another. So I would cheer in the fall through the spring, and then, really the fall and winter. And then as soon as that winter season was over, track season started. And there were actually some times where I would have to go to cheerleading practice for 1 hour and then head down to track practice for an hour because those seasons overlap so much. So it absolutely kept me in shape. And then, you've got track that always went through graduation. I would have maybe 2 weeks off, and then cheerleading started all over again with summer practices. So I was constantly moving.
So I see Richie says earlier he was like tears. Then he says like her daddy in regards to running.
Yeah.
Then we have Deborah Bloom. Your new nickname is Speedy.
That's a lot. That's something that a lot of people don't know about me, was my love for track and field and just how immersed I was in that culture. I had the absolute best coach that anybody could have. Roberta McWood, she is a legend in her own right. She was an athlete at University of Missouri, Mizzou. And then when she came back here to St. Louis, she started coaching at Kirkwood. I believe she's been the track coach there for well over 20 years. And so just the love of sports that she instilled in me, You know, the tenacity, the fortitude, that attitude that you just have to keep going regardless of that pain, because that pain is temporary. So keep going. I mean, she absolutely played a vital role in how much I grew to love that sport.
So, with that being said, were you someone who appreciated having that straightforward coach?
Oh, absolutely. I appreciated her ability to be extremely hard on us, but simultaneously so incredibly caring. And we knew that everything that she did was out of love for us, and it was purposeful. She wanted us to grow. She wanted us to nurture. She wanted us to continue to develop new skills every time we practiced. And honestly, looking back, all of those qualities in her, I kind of with me as I started coaching and started to come into my own. So she absolutely influenced just the way that I coached.
So, we have a question here from your father. What was your challenge as the track captain?
I remember
She got to laugh,
this
y'all.
one instance, okay? We were getting ready for state. And so at that time, when you're getting ready for state, of course, the team is narrowed down because you're only left with the state finalists who are practicing. Everyone else's season was. One particular athlete, I can't even remember what she got mad about, but she like stormed off the track and she was just like, forget this, I'm not doing it. She wouldn't listen to coach, and coach was mad because she was mad. And so I remember running after her and kind of taking her and calming her down and talking to her and telling her how important the moment was, that it was bigger than her, it was bigger than me. At this point, we were doing this for our school and for our community. We were heading to the state. Not many people can say that. And so I brought her back, and I remember Coach McWoods being so appreciative. But I think I had more moments like that where it's students who maybe your own age or start to have doubts, that anxiety builds up. And so when you're, 16, because I was 16 my senior year in high school when I started. So when you're 16, 17 years old, how do you calm down these teenagers who you
Right.
see every day when they're completely pissed off about something? So I think that was my biggest challenge, was figuring out how to channel my inner coach at 17 years old that I didn't even know that I really had until I became an adult.
So, just me knowing both your parents so well, and not knowing per se as much like Nelson, but we cool and everything. Seems like leadership just kind of comes in the family. Do you feel that same way?
I do, absolutely. My parents are natural born leaders, and I think when you grow up having two individuals who you watch, you want to emulate. And that's why it's so important to lead by example, because kids are going to watch what you do. They're going to watch what you say, and they're going to watch how other individuals respond to your actions, how they respond to your words, how they're going to look at how you interact, with other people. And is that interaction positive? Is it negative? And so I was fortunate enough to have two parents who and I think I just kind of grew into that. I don't know that I even recognized that I was doing it, to be completely honest with you. Growing up, it just kind of, I always took on those leadership roles. It was just something I did. It wasn't necessarily purposeful. I just did it.
A few comments here from Kelly Ivy has hashtag my friend dope. We have Arthur DNC. I see you, sis. Let's see. She says Coach McWoods,
Yes.
and amazing.
Coach McWoods is an amazing individual, and I would really encourage you, and I can connect the two of you, but she would be another great guest on this show.
Let's
because
make that
she's
happen.
so knowledgeable. I know she has really strong ties with some legendary sports figures. So she's another great individual that would absolutely be able to share her love of sports and her perception on things this year. Because, the track and field season was canceled, which was a first for her. 20-something. So,
First, it's been so
yeah,
many
I
firsts
know,
going on.
right? So that's a different perspective. But she's amazing. And I think one thing my mom always says is give people their flowers while living. So,
Right.
I absolutely have to give Coach McWoods her respect for making me the coach that I was.
We have T-Bone Funk says, Randall A, but we call him T-Bone Funk. You always show athletic ability going back to the first.
I think I realized it. Thank you.
Dean that Dean Will says Vegas is listening.
Oh, hi Vegas.
What's
I have
going
family
on?
there.
How's it going in Vegas, Dean? Let us know. I know things are open back up, so hope they don't have no if they don't go back like Florida is right now. You know, Florida opened up.
Yeah, they opened
now
up
they
and
gotta
now
go
they
shut
have to
down
go
again.
backwards. Well, yeah, that's what happens.
Let's see here. We have I think I got these comments from Richie. Trying to see if we have any more other ones. No, we don't. Not yet at this
Okay.
time. Let's see. Oh, there we go. No, we keep getting the same ones from Richie, so I'm trying to see if we get some new ones. So yeah, so just going back, having that coach, as you said before, who was straight to the point. How important was it for you, educational wise, to make sure that you was on point with your grades?
It was very important. I mean, not just for sports, but I didn't want to hear my dad's mouth if I brought home something that
I
was
can imagine.
not acceptable. But no, I mean, it's important because obviously to be on a sports team, your grade point average has to be at a certain level. And so you just work to make sure that you meet that expectation. And then, of course, you have high expectations for yourself, especially when you're a captain. So you just work really, really hard to make sure, that's where you are. And I think with track, in my senior year, I actually think I may have known my sophomore year that I would want to be the captain. So of course I made sure that I was always, keeping my grades up and being a good student so that I would be considered for that. Now my junior year in high school, I ended up being the cheerleading captain, and I think I might have been an impact as well because I'm a junior and I'm cheerleading captain, for a couple of reasons. And so I had to work hard, to make sure that I was the example for my team for 2 years.
So know that you have some siblings.
I do.
Tell us the names again and the age range or age difference.
So my brother is 3 years younger than me, and there is a 6-year age gap between me and my sister.
Okay. So when all y'all first, excuse me, were y'all playing sports all together or
No. My brother kind of played sports off and on growing up. My sister was never into it. My sister is just a genius. Like, give her a book and she can be completely unbothered in the corner. It was funny though, when she got to high school, she did try cheerleading, and we kind of talk about it sometimes. I think subconsciously she wanted to do it just because her big sister did it. But it wasn't her. And I think she might have tried track, I can't remember, but it wasn't her. I think we all have different talents, and I think we all really have found our niches and grow our talents in our own right. And so I think out of the three of us, I was sports the most.
Yeah.
So,
just stood out. So what is a sport that people would be surprised that you like and maybe don't like?
They would be surprised that I like probably hockey. And I just got into hockey when the Blues were making their run for the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
I didn't really understand it, and it was like happening too fast, and sometimes it would make me dizzy. But for that team, you kind of have no choice but to get into it. St. Louis is such a sports town, and so you kind of go with the flow.
It kind of it gravitates.
Yeah, it
you.
does. It does, and it sucks you in, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, hockey. I really.
Have you been to a game?
I have. Greg and I went to the game where the Blues won, and we're going to the Stanley Cup because of that win.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice. I went to game. Was that game 7?
Yeah, it was game 7.
No. Game 6 against the Sharks.
Yeah, okay.
That's
That's what it was. Oh my gosh, talk about an amazing experience.
Yeah.
I never thought that I would have so much fun at a hockey game, that I would be so into it and yelling with the crowd. Like, I had so much fun.
I look forward to the
really
conversation with Jo, because she's, like I said, huge hockey fan, baseball fan. So y'all should definitely have a good conversation. But I've always said that if you haven't been to a hockey game before,
Go.
You have to go, because it's like going to a big oversized bar.
You have to go. A St. Louis hockey game at that.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we are just a different breed.
We are.
With our Blues. So,
We are.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's definitely a great experience. everything went down. Went to my first opening night last season. So, and then like you said before, just the success that the Blues had going to the Stanley Cup.
Absolutely.
It just brought so many.
And that's what I was gonna say. I think that's probably the biggest takeaway from that whole experience is that their success and just their love for the sport, their love for the city, and just seeing the amount of people that just wanted to support them. I mean, it brought so many different people together, and for that moment, nothing mattered but one another and our love for that team. And I just remember being in that arena and just seeing everyone, and we all were just filled with the same emotion. And it was like for a couple of moments, everything negative in the world just kind of went away, and you were just one with your city. You were one with everyone around you, just soaking in that moment. So, you know, I'm a hockey fan for life after that.
Oh, okay. So how about the other way around?
Yeah. I don't know that I necessarily like golf because I don't get it. Nothing about it makes sense. I tried to golf once. It was not successful. I don't even know what the thing is called. What's this? The club, right? That's what that. The club.
Yeah. You have your irons, your woods, your putters.
Listen, whatever it is, I swung it as hard as I could and totally missed the ball and like sprained my shoulder or something.
Oh, you was doing that.
It was terrible.
You was doing that.
It was terrible.
Let's see. Yeah. Dean Will says Vegas Knights. Y'all cool. Y'all alright. Let's see here.
Oh, it's Gary, my best friend's husband. Shout out to my brother-in-law.
Yeah, he says, do you think the pandemic will make it hard to remotivate the kids to be active again?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think even now with, you know, them trying to figure out the new cheerleading season, because I am in touch with the coach who has taken over. I mean, there are all of these unanswered questions about what is going to happen next year. And then, of course, you've got the underlying fear of contracting the virus. Right. And so everyone just kind of wants to stay home and stay in their bubble, which is, you know, of course, understandable, right? Safety first, right? And so I think as things start slowly opening up, you're going to have to get over that fear. And getting over a fear is pretty difficult. And I know that firsthand as a coach because I continuously had to work with athletes, especially when you're talking about throwing somebody 7 feet in the air, right?
Right.
You have a different mentality that you have to adopt. And so absolutely it's going to be very difficult to motivate kids to not only be active, but to even want to consider doing a sport because, you know, they likely just want to stay in the house and not risk anything. So it's going to be difficult for the athletes and it's going to be difficult for the parents.
Joe says, let's go Blues and Birds in regards to the Cardinals.
Oh, yes, of course. I've always been a Cardinals fan.
It is.
Yeah.
Our Foreign Sports Talk Show tonight. It is yours truly once again. The fellas will be back very soon, so don't worry. Everything is cool. They will be back very soon. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure y'all follow us on all the social media pages on the bottom of your screen. We got a little facelift. This is the first show that we've had, the facelift and everything, so you're getting bigger and better every time, y'all. So thanks for y'all support. And thanks to our guest, Miss Jessica Williams, showing up, showing out. She's shining on TV, y'all. Vegas out there. Wherever else y'all at, shouts out to y'all. So, you weren't interested at all while you're in high school? You ever go to basketball or other sports?
No, it wasn't me. I enjoyed going to the games, but it wasn't me. I think I found my calling with cheer. And of course, at the time when I was trying out, I didn't realize that was God pulling me to that sport because he knew he had a bigger plan for me. He knew that I would be needed in that same place because I ended up coaching at the same high school that I cheered at. And so, you know, just kind of looking back, there was a reason why I was drawn to that sport and drawn to that place. So
drew you in to cheerleading?
I'm not sure. Really not. I think it's one of those things where when the Lord has a plan for you, it doesn't make sense. You just do it.
Right.
You don't question it. You know, you might think and you might try to figure it out, but it's just something that you just do. And I think even at such a young age, I might have subconsciously recognized that I was drawn to it for a purpose. because I don't know that I had an answer at the time. I just did it.
Folks, with that being said, that's a message. Get out of your comfort zone.
Absolutely.
Let the Lord use you.
Yeah.
Let the Lord use you.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. Keep on going.
No. And so I started in high school, and of course, you know, gone through the program at Kirkwood, and then I just, the more immersed I got into that world, the more I fell in love with it. Cheerleading is one of those sports that is so incredibly underestimated and underrated. I think that's because there's such a cliche when you think of the word cheerleader. You know, most people just say, oh, all you do is just yell a couple of words, you put on a short skirt, and you flirt with the football players. But man, there is a level of athleticism that is required to be a cheerleader that so many people don't understand. And so the deeper I got into the sport, the more I realized that this was building my athleticism in a way that I wasn't prepared for. Not only was it building me stronger as a cheerleader, man, it completely changed my running. Completely changed my running. I got faster, I got stronger, because I've spent an entire year throwing people up in the air, or even myself being thrown up. And so there's balance, there's coordination, there's synchronization. And so it helped me in so many different facets.
Yeah.
You know, so, and then I went on to cheer at Florida A&M. Shout out to my fellow Rattlers who might be watching. And I just, my love for it just continued. And I moved back to St. Louis and saw that there was a need. And so I came back home.
Your dad says, don't forget that your mom was a pommy.
My mom was a pommy. She was a pommy. So she danced while she was in high school.
She could, wait, she can dance? Are you serious?
Yes, my mom can dance. What do you mean? Yes, you've seen her dance. No, but yeah, I think she probably subconsciously, maybe she wanted me to be a pommy and a dancer, but there was just something about cheer. Like I said, that was just the Lord. So
Greg Jones II says, oh,
yeah,
I know him. Says, y'all was actually at the game when the Blues won the Stanley Cup. So tell me about that experience, because that was when
were we at that game when they won?
So that was when the Blues were in Boston, but then they had the watch party at the Enterprise Center.
Oh yeah, we were at that. Oh, that was amazing.
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
How can you forget about that?
That's why I have him. You know, the other side of my brain. I forgot about that. Yeah, because I think I'm so literal sometimes, and you said the game, so we weren't at the game,
right?
But yeah, we were at the Enterprise Center.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, that was amazing.
I know, just off the chain.
Oh my gosh, that was amazing.
Yeah, I would have loved to have been there, just experience the emotion.
Yes, same emotion, same atmosphere, same vibe as the other game that I talked about earlier. Yeah, it was great.
We have Darren, is that Sesums?
Yes.
FAMU.
Yes.
T-Bone says another HBCU.
Absolutely.
I guess he referred to Greg on that one. Let me see here. We got some more comments. Thanks, Kelly Ivy. Says a great show. Appreciate it. Let everybody know about this show because it's hot. We have Arthur DNC from Atlanta.
Yes.
ATL.
That's my best friend. She's a fantastic author. So if you ever have a moment to Google her or go on Amazon, definitely get one of her books. She's great.
Most definitely. Definitely supporting. Got some. Let's see here. Richie, letting us know about your mom. Arthur said cheerleaders. And I'm sorry. So what's her first name?
Nicole.
Nicole's.
Yes,
Nicole,
she was also.
Shouts out to you.
She was also on the team with me,
Okay.
and she and I were captains together our senior year. It's my best friend.
That's my best friend. She says cheerleaders are true athletes.
Yes, they are, and I think that that's something that isn't recognized enough. You know, there's so many different facets that go into that sport. I mean, it's not just throwing people in the air or catching. You know, that's a part of what we do. There are at least 40 to 50. We spent a considerable amount of time of practice just throwing those things because you just have to know what they are. And with cheer, a lot of chants maybe have the same 3 words. They're just comprised differently. So our mascot was the Pioneers. So let's say we have a chant that's "Let's Go Pioneers." Well, those same 3 words can be comprised of 6 different chants. You just say them differently and in a different rhythm, and they have different motions. And so you have to remember that, because when your captain just calls it in that rhythm, you don't have time to sit there and think about, oh, what are the motions to that? Because you're turning around and you're hitting that crowd. And so there's that aspect. You have to be well versed in the sport that you're cheering for, because you got to know when it's offense, defense. You got to know when it's a first down, a third down. You know, is it a touchdown? Is it an interception? And so, you know, we teach those girls to know those sports as well. Same with basketball. More athletic aspect of it, which is the stunting, and that in itself requires immense skill, immense concentration, significant coordination. More importantly, you have to be one with the other 4 or 5 individuals that you are with, because if you guys aren't working as one cohesive unit, that is a significant safety hazard for the person that's up in the air.
Got to have trust too.
Absolutely, that trust is invaluable, and that's one of the first things that I always work on. Coach, you know, our first few practices, we're building that trust. You guys have to trust one another. And I always told my girls, I don't care if you like one another. I really don't. But you will respect one another, and you will trust one another when you are in these walls, when you are relying on one another to be safe, and we all have the same purpose, you know. So whatever personal grievances you have, those are about being a team and making sure that we're working together, because it's a safety hazard. There is a reason why cheerleading is not considered a sport. There's a reason why we're not considered a sport, and that reason is because we are such a high liability risk. Okay, all across the board, cheerleaders, and I'm not saying this to gloat, it's just a reality. Cheerleaders actually make up, what's the word I'm looking for? Percentage-wise, injuries. We have more injuries than football, soccer, and I want to say hockey combined. Okay. And so unfortunately that just makes us a high liability, and a lot of insurance companies just kind of stay away from that. So that's one of the biggest reasons why we aren't considered a sport, because of that liability risk. So they place us in that activity category.
And I have to admit, y'all are tough, because you'll see them knee pads or wraps around the knees or wrists. And
Absolutely. Well, that's that tenacity piece. You know, yeah, you might have to get wrapped up. You might have a slight sprain, but is it preventing you from doing what you need to do? And that's a life lesson. You know, I always try to integrate those life lessons when I talk to my girls. It's, yeah, you might be hurt right now, but you can't walk because you're going to walk home, right? You're going to go home and walk through your house. You're going to go down to the fridge when you're hungry. You're going to go up to your room. You're going to walk to the shower. So, you know, that's not preventing you from doing your job. And that's a life lesson that you need to take with you moving forward. You know, you have to learn how to fight through things. Pain is temporary.
Right.
You know, it's going to go away. It's going to stop. But that can't hinder you from achieving your goal or reaching that final destination. So.
And then Deborah Bloom has, when you have over 200 cheers, you got to stay on your toes.
Absolutely. You have to.
Little sis says she finally figured out how to comment. Little sis loves you, Jericho.
Oh, that's my baby.
So where is she at right now?
She's in LA.
There we go. Doing
She's
the big.
in Los Angeles.
Jericho,
She's
congrats
doing
on all your
great
success.
Things. Absolutely. I'm not gonna embarrass her by bragging about her, but she's doing some.
She
out
knows
there
she
in
knows
LA.
she the ish. She knows she the ish. Hey, Kelly Ivy says whoop whoop on the palm. See what else we have here. Nicole says, hey, we ran loops with the distance track team and did weights with the football players. So tell me about that.
Oh my gosh. So a campus loop was, you ran literally the entire perimeter of the campus. And I don't know if you've been to Kirkwood High School, but we're like a mini college campus. It's huge. And so when coach would yell campus loop, we would be like, ah, you know, because especially for me, I'm a sprinter. I'm not a distance runner. And so that was always, you know, like, oh my gosh, who wants to do this? But yeah, we did it. And we didn't complain about it. We did it because we had to. And yeah, we absolutely would weightlift with the football team. You know, we're throwing people in the air. So of course we got to make sure our abs and our quads, because all of those things are important. Stunting.
For those who may have their daughters watch, tell everyone about the temptations of being a cheerleader, the temptation that you may have or others have for what you do.
Well, I think it can go one of two ways. I think you're tempted to cheer because you are athletic at heart and you see the athleticism and you want to be part of that culture. I think for some, the temptation to cheer is because they think it's cute and, oh, I'm going to have fun.
I'm going to have
gonna
my
get
legs.
I get to have games for free.
Yeah.
And I get to hang out with my friends. And then I get to know the football players or the basketball players personally. And all of that is great. But I think the most important thing to remember is that it absolutely comes with a degree of discipline. You have to be disciplined when you're doing the sport, with any sport really, right? Because there are so many different things that you have to learn every single day. And cheer, like I said, it's a high-risk sport. And I don't say that to put anybody off and to make them weary about it. I say it because it has to be said, because we can't sugarcoat that, right? And so, when you make that decision to go into that sport, you have to do it having all the information. And yes, it's an amazing opportunity. It's an amazing year that you'll have with your coach and your athletes, and you're learning things about your body. You're recognizing skills that you didn't know that you have. But by the same token, you have to have in the back of your mind that it's a safety risk, and you have to be diligent in terms of how to properly do things to minimize that risk.
And you don't have to name out any names or anything like that, but did you date anyone from a specific team?
I did
sport?
not. Well, let me take that back. I did have I did have a high school boyfriend. He played basketball, but not at Kirkwood.
Okay. So we have Patricia Grady.
Okay. My cousin.
Sending out hearts.
Oh, thank you, Cuzzo.
Kelly, I'm going to save that question for later on. I got you.
Okay.
Let's see here. Do we have any more other ones here? Jerica, I'm going to save that question as well, because it's coming up as we get into you as the coach. What made you go to Kirkwood?
My parents. So I went to Compton Drew. I was actually part of the first class that went to that school. So I was the first 7th grade class. Shout out to my fellow Dolphins. And I remember when it was time to start thinking about high school, they had, I think, a couple of different options that they were looking at. I do specifically remember they were looking at Clayton, and I think they were looking at one of the Parkway schools. And I had actually never even heard of Kirkwood. Had never heard of Kirkwood. And I don't even, like, I came home one day knowing that they were looking at things, and they were like, oh, you're going to Kirkwood. I was like, oh, that. Because I grew up in North St. Louis City.
Right.
Okay.
That's why I asked.
Yeah, I grew up in North St. Louis City. And so, I mean, unfortunately, there's just a lack of resources there in that community. And so a lot of schools just outside of our neighborhood schools weren't necessarily talked about. Okay. Of course, I knew the Beaumont and the Vashon and the Sumner and the Soldan and the Roosevelts. But you really didn't hear about the schools out there in the county, growing up. So when they told me I was going to Kirkwood, I was like, all right, sure. And I remember the next day, I went to class, and Darielle and I, who commented earlier, I want to say we were in like a science, and I remember looking at her, and I was like, where are you going to school next year? This was, of course, 8th grade year. And she was like, I'm going to Kirkwood. And I was like, oh, me too. Where is that? We were both like, I don't know. But it was nice knowing that I was going to have somebody out there. Never forget the first day that I pulled up to that school. It was complete culture shock for me. Okay. Growing up in North St. Louis, like I said, there's that lack of resources. I remember I had to get up at like 5:20 to catch the bus. Okay. And it was right down at the corner of my house. And I just remember sitting on this bus, first day of school, being so incredibly nervous, not knowing what I was walking into. And we pulled up on the parking lot, and here's this huge campus, and I immediately became terrified. I was like, what is this world? What am I walking into? And we walked through the doors, and it was just so big and overwhelming. And I didn't know where Darielle was because we weren't on the same bus. She lived on the south side. I was on the north side. And the first thing that I noticed was that the only people who... First thing that I noticed when I walked through those doors. And I will never forget that feeling. And that terrified me even more. And so I remember I kept walking and I went into the cafeteria and I looked American. And the first person that I saw, her name was, and I went up to her and I introduced myself. And I just, in my mind, I was like, this is who I'm sticking with. Because I don't know anybody. I don't see very many people who look like me. Here's, someone that I have immediately created, a connection with, and this is who I'm staying with. And so she happened to be in my homeroom class, and so we walked together to homeroom, and there she introduced me to a couple of other people, but I would just never forget that feeling of being in a space and feeling extremely alone, because there aren't very many people that you feel like you can relate to.
And when you got into cheering, when did you get that moment, like, what, I finally got it?
I don't know that I did. That stayed with me all through my 4 years, honestly. Looking back, first of all, my entire time at Kirkwood, I had one African American teacher. One. My whole 4 years, okay? And there were so many times where I would be maybe one of 2 or 3 other African American kids in that classroom. So there's never really a moment of I got it. There's always a moment where you're looking around and recognizing that you're a minority. And when you live in St. Louis City, where you're the majority, but then you're thrust into this world where you've now become the minority. People don't understand you. They don't understand your community. They don't understand the environment in which you they don't understand the things that you say are the things that you can relate to. It kind of puts a damper on you, and it never leaves you. Does it fuel some people? Absolutely, because it fueled me. But it's a feeling that has always stayed with me. But I also use that experience as a teachable moment for my athletes. I didn't let it define me. And I had to learn how to deal and communicate with those around me so that they could possibly to grow up in the city. And I just use that as a teachable moment.
Patricia Grady says, "You go, girl."
Oh, thank you.
So, as we leave from one big campus to another at FAMU, tell us about
Another culture shock. Sometimes when you grow up in certain environments, especially in North St. Louis, all you sometimes see is negativity. It's always on the news, person was killed, this person was robbed, or you just kind of sometimes drive through the neighborhood and you see abandoned buildings, and you just have no choice but to imagine what it must have been like when it was thriving. And then you start to wonder, how did we get here where it's so diminished? And, but that was my reality. That's the neighborhood that I grew up in, and I loved it. And so when you're going from that to this campus that is predominantly Caucasian, and then you shift from that to go to a campus that's predominantly African American, it's another culture shock. Now I'm in a space where I'm no longer the minority, but I'm in a space where I see so many positive African Americans doing things. They are doing things for their community. They are doing things for their school, and that was something that I hadn't really seen before. Did I have my bubble of people that I watched and emulated growing up? Absolutely. But here's an entire world of people who are doing that, and you were the absolute best. I wouldn't have had it any other way. And even my athletes of color, when they're trying to figure out, coach, what school do you think I should go to? The first thing that comes out of my mouth is, have you considered an HBCU? Have you considered that? And sometimes they say yes, sometimes they say no. When they say no, I always direct them to a place where they can go get some literature, and I say, look it up, because you are going to learn so many things about yourself. You're going to learn so many, absolutely no idea.
So you feel, which I have a feeling what you're going to say, but you feel that the HBCU experience is unlike any other.
I do. I really do. And I'm not at all taking away from predominantly white institutions. I'm not doing that at all. I'm just saying that for me, it was an experience like any other, because I learned more things about myself. I learned more things about my culture than I had growing up my entire life. You know, and that's just because I was surrounded by the excellence, right? I had no choice but to hear about the excellence. I had no choice but to see the excellence unfolding in front of me. And so I might have had, you know, a different lens to look through because I went to an HBCU from someone who maybe went to a predominantly white institution where that culture is not so deeply embedded, if that makes sense.
And T-Bone, I know that you probably will answer this question. Last week, we discussed a little bit of, with everything going on with Black Lives Matter and everything, there is a prize recruit. He's a junior now. He'll be seen coming up next season. Mikey Williams, a very highly touted basketball player. He's thinking about changing the game and going to an HBCU instead. If he does that, how do you feel that would change?
I think we need more of that. I really, really do. You know, it's unfortunate that there is a disparity in the amount of black athletes that are scouted and the amount of black athletes who are given scholarships, the amount of black athletes who are thrust into the spotlight. I think, I don't want to necessarily say the wrong thing. I think sometimes we find our tokens, and those are the ones that we highlight. Those are the ones that we focus on. But man, there are so many talented kids out there who don't get the same opportunities. They just don't.
And that's because they see them as being marketable.
Absolutely.
And like you said before, there are other diamonds in the rough that can do just as
Absolutely.
much, but they're not getting that exposure.
Absolutely. And so you have the bigger schools come in, and those athletes, those few, you know, who are in that little bubble, who are getting all of the attention. You know, we've got the ones over here who are just as serving on the side, but these are the ones who those big schools come after. And they pull them into their programs that are already affluent, that are already thriving financially, and so that they can just enhance that. Well, in the meantime, you've got our HBCUs who are, unfortunately, they're struggling with numbers, they're struggling financially, and so they don't have the opportunity to go in and get those athletes and pull them in, because what's the allure, right? What's the payoff, right? And so I think it's fantastic that he's even considering, because we can change the narrative.
Yes.
We can let these kids know here that were built for us, by us, just as important. They need our support just as much as the other ones do. You know, we need to be encouraging of their growth, their prosperity, and their sustainability, because we need those schools.
And to add on, having that, just imagine if Zion Williamson or a LeBron James went to an HBCU and how that could have changed the whole culture.
Could you imagine? I mean, not only just changing the culture, but just the awareness piece.
Right.
The awareness piece. I still have people who ask me, what does HBCU stand for when I wear a shirt? And sometimes they're people of color. And I'm not going to lie, in full transparency, it was not until my junior year in high school that I even really fully understood what an HBCU was. And that's because I went to a college fair in the basement of my church, and all they had were different booths from HBCU representatives. And so I hadn't even thought about that, right? Like, I think I wanted to go to some school in Chicago. I don't even remember the name of it, but I hadn't even thought of an HBCU. And that's because, you know, like I said, that awareness, unfortunately, is not where it needs to be. And so, you know, I made that decision, but absolutely, had some of those people, you know, maybe chosen a school, yeah, absolutely, the narrative, you know, might have changed a little bit.
A few comments here. We have Auntie Lane Williams. She says, Auntie Lane and Uncle David love that you are speaking clearly so that they can understand. Oh, wait a minute, I just lost it. So they can understand. Let me go back here. Sorry, I'm going to pull it back up. Let's go. Here we go. That you are speaking clearly so they can understand what you are saying. So professional and intellectual, just the way we taught you. So they want all the props.
They do.
Give them all the props. They want all the props. And then Nicole says, just had the same combo with the hubs. And I so agree with Jay. It only takes a few to come and show out.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
it does.
because I mean,
It
it's like the leader. You see how much exposure, how much love, because it's a different kind of love when you're doing
Right.
HBCU.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
It is. Right. Like,
Let's see
That's
about
a-
Howard.
yeah.
Let's see about this one.
Right,
Let's go here.
let's-
Spellman. Let's you know
absolutely.
what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with that. And like I said earlier, that's not taking away from any other institution. That's not saying that they are better than or less than. It's just saying that there is an option. There's an option that is just as viable. There's an option that is going to open the same doors. There's an option, that is going to give you the same opportunity. You just have to reach out there and be informed enough to research it and make a decision.
So, kind of reverse a little bit because like you said before, when you were younger, predominantly black school, high school, you was like culture shock 'cause you saw
Right.
so many other, saw the Caucasians and other ethnicities. Then you went to FAMU,
Right.
and once again you was back to.
I went back to Kirkwood, yes.
So, well, before going back to Kirkwood, while you was at FAMU, when you saw the Caucasians at FAMU, how receptive were you? How engaged were they in regards to the HBCU?
So the first Caucasian that I saw on campus, and I'm going to be, completely transparent because I think it's important that we have conversations that we recognize our own biases, right? So the first Caucasian that I saw on campus, my first thought was, oh, white people go here? I didn't think that was a thing.
Yeah.
She was a softball player. And I went to a game one day and I was just watching, and I mean, just watching her play didn't even dawn on me, the color of her skin. It became a non-factor. She was just a rattler, just like the rest of us. And I would go on to meet her and introduce myself, and we kind of developed a slight friendship. We would always speak in passing. It was just part of the family, and I think everyone on campus was receptive and accepting, because I think it became important to us that people from other cultures saw us, that they wanted to be in our world, that they wanted to learn, and they wanted to know, how can I make a difference? How can I spread the awareness? How can I help you prosper and grow, but at the same time educating myself? And so, I mean, it became so important that so many different individuals flood the campuses, and I think that that's still true today. I don't think that we have to, speak about HBCUs and have the mindsets, well, it only can be African Americans. I think we need to pride ourselves on being able to just educate the masses, because how else are we going to, break down this racial divide? We have to educate. They have to understand what our plight is, what our history is, what our sufferings were, understand why we are so proud of our accomplishments. And so that was one of the things that FAMU taught me, and I think it's safe to say that, all HBCUs kind of work under that same mindset.
So how was your experience at FAMU as a cheerleader?
I loved it. Oh my gosh, it was an amazing experience. It was a lot of work. It was a lot more work than I had put in while cheering in high school. The degree of athleticism was intensified because it's a college campus, and what I remember the most is going to tryouts and just knowing. I just knew. I'm like, I was captain, I'm gonna make it.
Right.
Y'all are all the same. You're not better than anybody here. They're better than you. You have to learn from them. So that was definitely an experience. I learned a lot. I had a lot of fun. College, because I decided to get active in other organizations, and I, just kind of had to make a decision. But also subconsciously, I think I got tired of being known as Jessica the cheerleader. When people would ask about me, I would always hear, they said, oh yeah, oh, the cheerleader? Oh, okay, yeah, I know her. I wanted an identity outside of being just a cheerleader, and so I started doing other things.
So did you get to FAMU off of a scholarship from cheerleading, or?
No. Spoke to a representative at that college fair that I talked about earlier, and that's just where I wanted to go, and I'm thankful that my mom and dad were able to make that happen for me.
Nice. A few comments here. Kelly Ivy says, "Yep." Hashtag HBCU pride.
Yes, Kelly went to Howard.
Howard.
Yes,
Okay.
and Shauna, who I'm seeing as well, Shauna and Dario to Tennessee State
Nice.
University. So yeah.
Yeah, I have a friend of mine, Layman. He went to Tennessee State University as well, doing I believe around 2000 to the 2004ish time frame. T-Bone agrees with everything that you said about HBCU, so that's what's up right there. Deborah says, you forgot to say they have to learn how amazing
Oh, absolutely.
we are.
Absolutely. Like I said, that was part of the culture shock, right? When I went my freshman year is sometimes there's just such negative connotations with our culture. It's unfortunate, but that's our reality. And you go into this place where everyone is just so amazing and everyone's so educated and everyone's so professional and all they want to do is help you succeed and help you reach your dreams. I mean, it's an amazing sight to see. And so I'm
Key State University.
Oh, I know a couple of people.
That's what's up. So, college, you did
Yes.
your thing there,
I did.
and all of a sudden, knock. Who is it? Opportunity.
Absolutely. Opportunity.
Coaching.
Yes.
What happened? How
So-
did it happen?
I moved back to St. Louis, and it was actually my best friend Dario. She sent me a text and was like, "Hey, I was at a game because her brother was on the football team at the time, and so she was like, I was in like a concession stand, and the cheerleading coach told me that she wasn't going to be coming back. She was like, so they may have a coaching position open. You may just want to check, Kirkwood's website." And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. Hadn't thought about coaching. It was the furthest thing from my mind. I hadn't thought about cheerleading in maybe about 6 years. And all of a sudden that my wheels just started turning and God started speaking and he was like, look into it. Again, I can't explain it. It's just what was in my head. And so I kept checking the Kirkwood site and there was the posting and I applied for it and they immediately brought me in for you. I remember it was, why are you interested in coaching? And I said, because there's a need for me here. There's a need. I said, when I was here in this building for 4 years, there was one teacher of color that I learned from. There was one African American coach that I learned from and that I saw on a regular basis. There's a need for me here. And I just remember, the look on their faces and it was resonating like, wow, she's right. And the rest is history. I was there for 10 years.
How important is passion into a job like what?
You cannot coach anything for the money. You just can't. You have to be passionate about the sport, but most importantly, you have to be passionate about those students. You have to be passionate about their growth. You have to be passionate about where they're going. You have to be, diligent about figuring out where's their head in that moment, especially today when social media is so important and it's so prevalent. They're growing up differently than how we were. The pressures are different. They're seeing things, they're hearing things at a rate in which, we can't even comprehend because we didn't have Facebook and Twitter and Instagram or Snapchat where all of these things are everybody to see and for everybody to comment on. People who don't know you, who've never seen you before in your life, that takes a toll on these young people. And so when you're coaching today, you have to do it because you're passionate about it. Because if you just did it for a job or just for a paycheck, you're not going to be successful and you're not going to help these kids. And I would hope that anyone who's coaching is doing it because they want to help the kids and they want to give them.
So first day on the job, you meeting your team. What was going on?
So scared.
What was going on through your
I
mind?
was so scared. I'm looking at these kids who look the same age as me. Time my athletes and say, "Where's your coach?" And I'm like, they're like, "Oh, I thought you were students." Like, nope, I'm the coach. But yeah, I was terrified. I didn't know what I was doing. Like I said, I hadn't thought about coaching. I was just going with the flow because I knew it was something important and it was something that I had to do. But I remember I sat down in a circle with them and I said, listen, I don't know what I'm doing. We're going to figure this out together. So together, we got out a sheet of paper and we wrote down our goals for the year. I said, what are your expectations for me as your coach? And then I'm going to talk about my expectations for you guys as athletes. And then once we did that, we talked about, okay, what do we want to achieve together? And so, you've got those first year coach jitters. You're scared to make a decision because you don't want to upset anybody. So you're a little bit timid, and you want to try things, but you're scared. You don't know if you're teaching it right. So once I got over that first year, it just became natural to me, and I just continued to grow in my coaching style.
Nice. Once again, this is the Platform Sports Talk Show. Your boy Smooth, along with special guest Miss Jessica Williams, about to be Mrs. Jessica
Jones.
Jones. Great show. Thank you once again for tuning in, y'all. This has been fun. So much more to discuss. So, competitions. Did y'all do that a lot?
We did one competition throughout my tenure, and I said I would never do it again. And I say that not because it wasn't fun, but I don't know how much or how familiar you are with the Kirkwood community. So every year on Thanksgiving Day, we have what's called Turkey Day. It is the oldest rivalry west of the Mississippi. I think Turkey Day started in 1907, something like that. It's been like well over 150 years where they've had this game every year on Thanksgiving at noon, and we play the same team, which is Webster Groves, and it alternates. Well, obviously that's Thanksgiving Day. Cheerleading competition season starts in October. And you start there by going to like different local competitions, and you continue to progress through December because nationals for cheerleading is in February, but you have to qualify for nationals through your competition season in October through December. Okay. And it was way too much for us to focus on a competition while at the same time trying to prepare for Turkey Day, because Turkey Day, we always have this huge pep rally where we do a competition like routine. So it would have been like having two separate routines that we're working on at the same time. And like I said, I did that once, and that was just way too overwhelming for me as an individual, especially being a single mother. And so I just decided that we wouldn't do that again. And the girls were fine with that because it was a lot on them too. So all of our focus was on Turkey Day, but our routines were always at a competitive level. So it was almost like, it was a competition for us. Essentially we were always competing against ourselves from, the last years. How enhance our stunts? How can we make this more crowd appealing? What kind of cool things can we do to make the crowd gasp and say, oh my gosh, that was so scary. So we were always competing against ourselves. So that was our competition for us.
So this is a question that I know that you brought up to me, and now your sister Jerica brought it up. This is a great question. Can you speak on your experience as a black coach in a predominantly white school district and community, especially regarding relationships with both teachers and parents?
So I think first I have to start by saying I think I came in with a slight advantage because I'd graduated from Kirkwood, and so many of the administrators that were there when I were still there as an adult, so they knew me. So that trust between me and the administrators was there. Was it difficult being a black coach in a white community? Absolutely. Was it more difficult being a female head black coach in a community? Absolutely. And did I have some negative experiences? Sure, I did. I don't know that it was purposeful. I don't even know that I can necessarily say that those issues were race related. I can assume, but I can't specifically say, because you never know what's in someone's head, but I can absolutely make the assumption that sometimes it absolutely was. But I think what was important for me, and the biggest takeaway that I wanted my athletes to see, was that they can have a woman of color be in their life who is a beacon, someone that they can rely on, someone that they can trust, someone that they can learn from, someone who they know loves them unconditionally and will absolutely go to bat for them no matter what, and whose sole purpose in what she's is to build them and strengthen them and make them good citizens once they leave that Kirkwood High School or the Kirkwood community. See me in that light because, like I stated before, unfortunately there are just negative connotations, and I didn't ever want my athletes to be in a world where someone can say to them, well, all black people are this, all black people are that. My athletes can say absolutely no, they're not, because I had a coach when I was in high school who was the complete opposite of what you're saying to me. So I wanted to be that example so that they can go out and educate someone else and squish those stereotypes and be a voice and be an advocate for, you know, for our culture.
So there were times in which you went home after one of those experiences. I'm pretty sure were you like a home crying like, you know, like, is this meant for me? You know, were you questioning God?
My mom
like,
can tell you many stories. She was always the one that I would call when I was having a moment, because my like panicking or my anxiety is kicking in or I'm feeling overwhelmed and feeling like I want to just quit. I always call her and she kind of just brings me down. But absolutely had many moments like that. I remember one moment in particular, it was tryouts, which is always the I've had parents threaten to sue me because I didn't put their daughters on the cheerleading team. I had one mom actually go to the superintendent of the school district. Well, she emailed her this long letter saying why my coaching license needed to be revoked. That's not even a thing. I don't have a coaching license. Right. But she wasn't happy that her daughter wasn't picked. I've had parents want to see the footage and they wanted to see and that I was purposely not putting kids on the team. The biggest doozy was I had people, and that's why what? That's why someone didn't make the team. I said, "Oh, I'm not sure how that works." Okay. So yeah, there were definitely some challenges that, I mean, you have to assume, right? You have to assume. So where that stemmed from and where that, I don't want to say hatred, but that frustration came from.
Yeah. I mean, even to this day, there are a select, more than a select few that still does not want us to be great.
Yeah. I mean,
and it's been showing.
Yeah,
it's been showing like crazy, and it's sad.
Yeah.
It really is. There was an earlier question, and I lost it, so I apologize, but I think it was from Gary. How are you able to, as a mother, how are you able, as a coach, how are you able to keep the kids engaged YouTube and you have other different avenues that they can go to? Right.
I think many different ways. I think part of it is my personality. I think my girls would always say that they kind of just love me as a mom, and so they respected me in that regard. So they listened to me, and when I would say, hey, you need to be here, you need to be doing this, they did it out of respect. I think you have to be creative in your coaching approach. You have to be creative when you're designing your practices to make it fun. Even performance day, you know, even through the strenuous activity, you have to find a way to make it fun and make them want to come back. You have to make that environment where they feel safe, they feel like they're at home, they feel like it's a place where all of the negative things that have happened throughout that day or maybe in that life don't exist in those 2 hours when they're with you. And I think when you create an environment like that, that's where that engagement piece comes in. They want to come back, they want to be involved, and they want to learn from you because they see the impact that you've had on others, and they want to be a part of that. So it's not just about coming to practice, you know, or as you would say, football, running a few plays and then going home, or coming to practice, doing a few chants, doing a few cheers, doing a few stunts and going home. You have to get engaging. You have to interact with them. You have to, you know, develop those relationships, those personal relationships where they want to come back. So I prided myself on being able to do that.
Nice. And once again, this has been an incredible show. The comments have been amazing. Auntie says that ring is blinding
Is
me.
it?
She says a great host as well. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. She says I hope that I bring more bright people. Oh yeah, every week we bring in amazing guests. Amazing. I have some coming up too. I'll save that for later on. A little spoiler coming up. But going back, biggest myths or misconceptions about cheerleading.
That it's easy. That's the biggest one, that it's easy. Like I said, I think people just think, oh, you just go out there and you yell some words and that's it. But I can't speak for every cheerleading program. I can speak for mine. And I have expectations that my athletes absolutely meet if they were going to remain in my program. And they understood that, they respected it, and they worked hard to make sure that they met those expectations. I expected my athletes to work out. I had a rule that there was absolutely no food on game day. When it's halftime, you do not go to that concession stand and get anything. You bring your own snack. It must be healthy and it needs to be protein fueled because you have spent an hour, doing nonstop activity. It's not the same with football. Offense gets a break at some point.
Right.
Defense gets a break at some point. We don't.
Right.
We're going nonstop. We're cheering for both sides, and every time there's a timeout
Exactly.
or when a quarter change, what do? Now, after we've been yelling for 30 minutes straight, we now have to go and throw people in the air, and sometimes yell at the same time when we're throwing someone in the air. Or we might have to do a dance while someone is up in the air. So we always had to be thinking about our nutrition and our bodies and making sure that we are working out. And taking care of ourselves because it takes a lot. It's a lot of energy to go nonstop for 2.5 hours. And don't let the game go into overtime. Oh my
Lord.
gosh. Don't let that happen. So I think people think that it's easy and it's really, really difficult. But by the same token, man, does it teach you discipline? Does it teach you grit? And force you to dig down deep and keep going when you're like, oh my gosh, coach, I just want to sit down. I think there was one game we were at for almost 3 hours. We were at for almost 3 hours, and they were just like, I can't feel my feet. And I'm like, I can't feel mine either, but we're going to keep going. Or being out in the freezing degree weather.
I was going to say, the weather conditions can be
oh my gosh.
off the chain.
And we're still out there. We're right out there with that team. And, it's funny when it's really, really freezing outside. Sometimes you look and I'm not taking anything away from, the football team, but you would see them with their warming blanket on the side. There's a change in who's on the field. So maybe the quarterback, when it's defense, he'll come and get nice and warm because, of course, he has to keep his muscles going. And my girls are like, but I always tell them, did that not teach you how strong you are? Like, it was freezing. You couldn't feel your fingers. You couldn't feel your toes. You couldn't feel your lips, but you stayed out there and you kept doing what you came here to do. That is something nobody can ever take away from you. And they would always be like, oh, yeah, you're right. And then it turns out, years down the road or even the next week, it becomes a funny experience. You laugh about the fact that you 0-degree weather, you were cheering in the rain, and the bleachers are completely empty because no one wants to be out there when it's soaking wet. But you're.
How did it feel cheering to a packed house and then cheering to 2 people?
You know what? When you love what you do, it doesn't matter.
Just do it.
It doesn't matter.
It's the
who's
same
out
thing
there.
like
Yeah.
as me as a performer. I'm a drummer, DJ. So I know how it feels to have a packed house, everybody dancing, to people looking at you like, what the hell are you doing? To no one there.
Seriously, there was one game. I want to say there were maybe like 4 parents in the stands, and then it was me and my assistant coach sitting next to each other. We were like, well, coach, I guess we're going to cheer to you. I was like, all right, it's like another practice. Let's go. And we had a great time, So, yeah, when you love it, it doesn't matter. You can cheer in front of thousands. You can cheer in front of one. You do it because you love it.
So just like a coach would in other sports, you pretty much had a cheer for each kind of situation. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There was never way going because of the weather conditions. Like, we made a commitment, and our commitment was to support the team. If the team is there, we're there. Now, were there some times where maybe we had to take a break or maybe go inside for a moment? because like it was too cold, yeah, but we would go in for just a moment and then head right back out there when we felt loose and felt okay and ready to go.
Before I get to the other question, which is going to be pretty good. How long were you the coach at Kirkwood?
10 years.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have like a Hall of Fame plaque somewhere? So, your jersey hanging from the rafters?
No, I did not have a Hall of Fame. No, it was 10.
And just from seeing your post during that time, looks like y'all had a whole lot of success.
We
so
did.
Take this moment just to brag for a minute.
You know what? We did. I came in with a vision, and my vision was, how can I make this team comparable to a collegiate squad? My goal was always to train them as if each one of them is going to go on and cheer in college. And because I had that collegiate experience, I kind of knew how to coach them a little bit. I knew how to knew what kind of stunts to come in and have them try so that they can go on. And I will say, I am going to take a moment to brag about myself for a moment. And
take this platform to do it.
I am. Every single year that I have coached, I have had either one or two girls go on to cheer at the collegiate level. Every year that I've coached. I think maybe only 2 or 3 were D2 schools. The rest were D1.
Real quick comment from Alex Zurich. Says, love you, coach.
That's one of my babies.
So
Yes.
So how does it feel personally knowing how much you touch lives and been the inspiration?
It's more than I can describe, because it's more than I ever could have hoped for. Did I know I wanted to make a difference in these kids' lives? Yes. Did I recognize that the difference would be so profound and so withstanding? Not at all. I mean, like Alex is an example. I can't even remember when Alex graduated, but she still reaches out, still lets me know, how much she appreciated everything that I've done, and my athletes do that. Even my first babies from when I started coaching in 2009, still reach out to me, and they want to let me know how they're doing, and they send me pictures of their families, and we talk about how things been, what did you take away from cheer, and each one of them can always tell me something that they learned, and that's what mattered to me. It was deeper than teaching them how to cheer. It was about teaching them how to love themselves and how to trust themselves and find that confidence that maybe they didn't have when practice started, that maybe they developed over the course of a few years, the more immersed they got into the sport. And so it was just teaching them that when you leave this high school, when you leave this community, you're going to have to go out and figure things out on your own. Do you have the confidence to do that? Absolutely you do. Do you have the strength to withstand all of the obstacles that are going to come your way? Because there's going to be a lot, but it's a function of when they come, what can you take away from them, and how do you push yourself forward? And that was one of the biggest things that I wanted them to learn through the sport. And that's why I did not let up on them when they said that they were hurt. When they said that they were tired. It was like, no, you get up and you keep going, because this is what's going to happen in the next 5 or 10 years. You're going to be tired. You're going to have that job, that dream tomorrow. No, you get up and you go, because that's what coach taught you how to do. So it definitely means a lot to me that they took those lessons and
what we said before, being out of your comfort zone.
Absolutely, you have to be out of your comfort zone, and that it will absolutely do that for you, especially when it's a sport that you're trying for the first time and you realize that it's your calling and it's your niche. It takes you out of that comfort zone, and it instills you with a level of confidence that you likely wouldn't have had, or that you didn't even know that you had. So that's why it's so important that we get our kids up and involved in something. I'm in sports advocate, but there might be who are drawn to music, like my son is, or who are drawn to art. The body are so incredibly important, because there's so many lessons that you can learn from it that you will take into adulthood if you take the time to listen and pay attention.
I know you brought up Miss McWoods. Any other inspirations, cheerleading inspirations?
Yeah, so he was a teacher at the time. She's an assistant principal, but she was always someone who really, who I knew that I could rely on, I could confide in. And I think the beauty of how all of this kind of came full circle is that when I started coaching, both Mrs. Miller and Coach McWoods became sort of my mentors. I really adopted them more so. I voluntold them that they were going to be my mentors. But I would always go to them when I would have an issue. And it was for different reasons. When I felt like that I was being targeted as a person of color and as a female coach, I would go to Mrs. Miller because I knew that as an administrator, she understood the only African American administrator there. So I knew that she could have some insight and could help me sort of digest it and maybe think about it from a different lens and from a different perspective. Mm-hmm. Coach McWoods was always my go-to when I had a coaching problem. Maybe I had an athlete who was acting out, or maybe I had a question on whether or not I was being too tough or too hard girls or not letting up. You know, this person gave me this excuse, but I said absolutely not. Was that the wrong thing to do? Because she had so much experience. And so you have to surround yourself with people who are going to be that support. Fortunate enough, nations turn out to be my support system.
Nice. Mm-hmm. So what are you doing now?
So now, you know, like I said earlier, making that decision to leave was extremely difficult. But again, that was me listening to God and telling me it's okay to move on. You know, I had spent 10 years of my life growing this program and nurturing it to a point where, I mean, I averaged 50 to 55 athletes a year, you know. And it's like, how do I walk away from what I've built? How do I walk away from this legacy that I've created? And I had to get myself to a place where I could be okay with letting someone else come in, take it over, and maybe make it their own. You know, I couldn't hold on to it forever because there were other things that the Lord was telling me that I needed to go and focus on. One of that being my career. There's a need for what I do. There's an even deeper need for people of color doing what I do. And raising my son, and I was noticing that there were a lot of activities with sports that he was missing out on because I had practice, you know, last summer. And I remember feeling like such a bad mom because I told him, like, you're not going to be able to play because you don't have time. And who wants to say that to their child, that I don't have time, you know, for you to do something that's going to enrich your life and make you a better person here, you know, majors, and I can't even offer the same opportunity to my son. Practice days would overlap, and sometimes, like, I would have to be out in Kirkwood for maybe emergency practice, or there was a game that was rescheduled, which happened to out, you know, trying to see if my parents or Greg can somebody pick him up and take him to the game. And it got to a point play, and I will never forget that look on his face when he really realized he wasn't going to be able to do his favorite sport because myself, and recognized that it was time to allow him to do it. I needed to give him the opportunity, and I needed to give him more of me, you know, so that he can be the young man that I envisioned. And so I'm shifting my focus. I'm getting him involved in as many things as I can. Of course, work and planning the wedding. But I've also decided that after the wedding, I am going to apply to Capella University for their doctoral program.
Nice.
And so that'll take me 3 years. And so that's my next step. So that's, again, another calling the Lord is telling me. And I remember texting my mom, and I said, don't let me forget, after the wedding, I need to apply for the doctorate program. And I remember telling her, I don't know. I think this is what I'm supposed to do. So just don't remind me. And she hasn't. You know, she puts those ideas in my head, and the Lord does too, because I could be sitting down watching TV, and all of a sudden something pops into my head. I'll just go research different programs, and that's what I'm supposed to do. So can you connect me so I can talk to her? So again, it's just me being obedient to his voice and listening, and just sort of trusting the path that he has for me. And the path was, it's time to, you know, close that chapter in your life, but now here's another you to go venture this way.
Yes,
That's where I am.
That is so awesome, and thank you for sharing your story, man. It's been incredible. I hope a lot of people have been inspired, been touched by it. Last thing, with everything that's going on right now, how do you feel being a mother raising a black son?
It is scary. It's stressful. It is numbing. But by the same token, somehow it's humbling. Explain why it's humbling. I think it's because conversations are being had that have never been had before. And there's an opportunity to teach some things that you may not have considered teaching before. And I'm struggling right now. And so it's getting him to a point where he has to recognize and truly digest what's going on. And you don't want to put too much on a kid, because you don't want them to experience that secondhand trauma, because that is absolutely a real thing. So I make a point not to experience. That's not him at 12 years old. But he absolutely has to be aware to a certain degree. He has to know that he can't interact with individuals the same way, or that maybe one of his unfortunately right now behave a certain way when you're approached by police, and I have to explain that to him. I mean, that's a hard conversation to have when you're looking your 12-year-old in the face and telling him how you have to be in front of a cop, especially when you come from it's scary. And I'm not going to stop educating him as and trying to prepare him as much as I can, but it's definitely finding that balance between struggle right now. And I'm fortunate enough though to have a village, a family, a village of friends, a village of sorors who are so supportive and who are always, you know, having discussions via social media or in person, or at those fears and those concerns, and have them say, well, sis, this is what, you know, this is what I did with my son or my daughter. And so you take that and you absorb that, and, you know, it takes a village and it takes a community to raise this kid. So you have to be open to that. But I think it's okay to admit that you're scared as a parent, especially a parent of, you know, a black boy. It's scary right
being
now.
Transparent is what these kids need.
Absolutely.
You know, like I said, don't, especially depending on the age, but you don't want to put too much, but you just want them to get prepared.
Right. Absolutely.
So that's the big thing. We have to get our kids more prepared for situations.
Right. And it's scary when you think about their innocence. I remember we were eating dinner one day, my son and I, and this was maybe 2 years ago. I think he was about 10, and we were eating spaghetti. And out of nowhere, he says, "Hey, Mom, do you remember my friend Darian?" I'm like, "Oh, yeah, the guy who was like playing basketball outside with you last week?" He was like, "Yeah." And then he takes a slurp of spaghetti. I said, "What about him?" "He's dead."
Whoa.
And he takes another bite of spaghetti. And my heart stopped. And I said, "I'm sorry, what did you say?" And he was like, "He's dead." And he just kept eating his food. And I said, "What are you talking about?" And so, you know, unfortunately, he was, and it was a news story. He was out in East St. Louis, and he was killed. He was shot in the back. But he was my son's friend. But he said it so casually, as though it was normal.
Right.
And that's what scared me.
Exactly.
How is this normal? A child killed. That should not be the world that we raise our children in. That shouldn't be the world that we raise our young black men in. He has to know that that's not normal, and that should anger him. You know, did I want it to anger him at 10 years old? No, but he needs to understand that things like that aren't supposed to happen.
Yeah.
They can't happen. They can no longer happen. They shouldn't happen.
That's like that video that's going viral now with that young boy that was playing in his driveway and hid
Right.
behind the Jeep.
How sad is that? And he thought nothing of it. You know, he hides, the cop drives by, and then he just goes back to playing basketball as though nothing happened. And that just can't be our reality. That can't. Not in this country when our ancestors fought so hard to get us to a place where we were included and where we can make decisions. We could start our own businesses. You know, we can make money, you know, in the same ways that our counterparts can. They fought so hard for that. And to see in this stage in 2020 for that to appear to be crumbling, I mean, that's gut-wrenching. And we can't allow our country to digress in such a way where our young boys are afraid to play in their front yard.
Right.
We can't let that happen.
Right. Once again, this is the Platform Sports Talk Show. Been a great interview with Jessica Williams, sharing her story. So inspiring. She off the chain, y'all. Shouts out to the HBCUs.
Yes.
This has been fun. Up next, it is time for a lot of baseball and hockey. So with that being said, Joe, how are you doing?
I am doing good. I'm watching with this game 4 of the Braves and Cardinals from last year.
Oh, okay. Was that
The
the
Yachty walk-off.
Yes, the Yachty walk-off. Such a
Oh,
great
yeah.
moment. I mean, just right over the glove of Freddie Freeman. Freeman.
Yeah.
So, how you been doing?
Doing good. I haven't talked to you in a while, I feel like, like on the show, but
It has
good.
been.
Just
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it has been a minute, but it's definitely good talking to you. And earlier, Jessica said in regards to a sport that people may not think that she likes, she brought up hockey. How that make you feel?
I like that. I like that people are, like, more and more now starting to like watching hockey, and especially, you know, our hometown team, the Blues. That's what sports does, though. It
Yes,
brings
it
people
does.
together, and, you know, people of all different types of race and, you know, everything. It's awesome. That's why I miss sports so much.
Yeah, and Joe was, I believe you were at which game? Was that was that game 6 you was there?
So we were at the Game 7 double overtime when Pat Broom scored.
Wow.
Yeah.
How was that?
It was amazing. It was a last minute. I was at work texting my husband saying we got to buy these tickets because our other friends were doing it.
Uh-huh.
And it was like $130 a ticket, but it was totally worth it.
Oh, wow. I
Yeah.
bet that was.
That's something that they just can't pass up. Did y'all go to the parade? You and Greg?
No, we did not go to I can't remember why we didn't go. I feel like we had something. I refused to delete it.
Yeah.
I need to find a way. I don't know if you can take something off the DVR, maybe put it on DVD or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I think
don't know
all that's
either.
too digital. So.
Yeah, I think my dad might be able to figure it out. But yeah,
Right.
we have it.
So you didn't go, but I know Joe and her husband Brendan did. So and I know what was it? This past Monday was like the 1-year anniversary.
Yes.
Yes, of the
that,
parade.
Of that
Yeah,
parade. So
yep, it was.
tell everybody once again, for those who of course listen for the first time, your experience of being at that parade, Joe.
It was amazing. We got there what we thought was early, but I guess not early enough, so we were still hundreds of people back. So, but it was just awesome with the atmosphere and just being in the presence of Lord Stanley. I know that sounds silly, but that's his name. And it was funny because I was with a group of people, and that day I got lost for a little bit, and Brendan about had a heart attack and died. But when he found, he was drunk, and so when he found me, he was like crying, hugging me. It was just hilarious. But it was a good time. It was a really good time, and I don't know, it's something I'll never forget.
And I know that we showed a clip of us watching the show last year. I mean, watching games 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals in Boston, and Joe was like, "Shoot, y'all, compared to what y'all was doing, y'all was real." Is what she was saying. I would have been cussing. And she said they were cussing and F-bombs and having drinks. I can imagine, because you know, I've been over to the Bubba Conte's house, so I can imagine the party and the emotion, everything.
Yes.
When the Blues won.
It was very emotional. Even for me.
Yeah,
It was crazy. I've never been a hockey fan, but I was boohoo crying. Like, I did it.
Yeah,
It was a great.
And if you saw I don't know if you saw the video, but Stan, it was like he was so stunned, like, wow,
Did this happen?
Like the blue, I thought he was about to cry. He maybe had a little tear, tear or two, but he was just like, wow, they straight won,
It was an amazing historic moment, and I think that's part of the allure, was that we were witnessing history happen. How often do we get to say, I was there when something historical happened? I saw it firsthand. I was a part of it. I experienced it. I relished in it. So that was a big part of the lore, at least for me. And like I said, it made me a fan for life. And like Joe said, that's what sports does. It brings people together. And for those moments when you're all in that arena, or even during that parade, nothing else matters but just your love for the game and your love for those athletes, and the love that's just being immersed by the people who are around you, because you're all there for the same purpose. And we need so much more of that, especially today. We need reasons to come together.
Now, Joe is an athlete, was an athlete, could still be. She was I'm probably gonna add more to it. Off the chain back catcher. When she played softball in high school.
Nice.
So we have a off the chain cheerleader and cheerleading coach. Then we have a back catcher. Joe, just hearing Jessica's story earlier, how did that make you feel?
Well, I could have never done cheerleading. Like you said, you said, all the flips and everything, and then like me being a catcher, like I'm squatting up and down for 7 innings, or if we had double headers, 14 innings a night. But that's nothing like running and jumping around and stuff like that, because my coaches made fun of me saying I had a piano on my back when I ran, so I just could not do that.
But
I could not do that.
But by the same token, I could never play softball. There's no, first of all, I'm not going to stand there while a ball flies at me. You would try to hit it with a bat. Oh, that's not going to happen at all. And then you're going to throw it fast and expect me to catch it. Oh,
the fast
no.
pitch would be something else.
Oh, no, that's not happening. And you mentioned having a squat, for 7, 8. I couldn't do that. So I think it's so important that there's just an awareness about just the sports and what it all entails, and the degree of athleticism that goes into one, has a degree in their own right. There are different skills that are needed for each. But that's, again, just kind of goes back to just the beauty of it all. We're all athletic in different ways for different reasons, because we come from different backgrounds and have different trainings. But at the end of the day, it all teaches us the same thing. It's that grit and that competitive spirit that's necessary when you go out and when you try to compete in the world, whether it's for a job or someone that you care about. That competitive spirit is embedded in you because you learned it from playing the sport.
So Joe, staying with hockey, word is that training camps are starting to open up slowly but surely. They'll get us a couple of games in with a little mini preseason or whatever you want to call it, and then get back to a different little format, which I believe is going to be some type of like round robin with the top 4 seeds of each conference, to depend on who will be the number 1 seed in 2, 3, and 4, and then the rest of the teams that are still in that playoff hunt will play like a tournament style, while the top seeds have like a bye. What are your thoughts on that process? And are you still confident, if everything is in order, that the Blues can repeat?
It's still confusing. Like when I watched the video of Gary Bettman talking about it, I was like asking Brennan, I was like, what the heck does this mean? Because there's so many different phases, and it's confusing when you hear all of it at once. I'm happy that they're having the teams that were close to making the playoffs. They Canadians. They have that because they were right there in the hunt, and there wasn't that many games left in the season. So I'm excited about that. But for the Blues, Danko's going to be back 100% now. So That's exciting. Our team's going to be even healthier and stronger. Or someone I think I saw with David Perron. He kind of went down a little bit after the All-Star break. So having extended time off out of nowhere, and I think that really benefited him because the beginning of the year he was great. So, I mean, I don't see why not. We couldn't repeat.
Hey, and especially like you said before, everyone is rejuvenated. The ones who were hurt, they're back now.
Yeah.
So that should definitely.
The flip side of that coin, you have to consider, yes, from a health standpoint, they might have recovered, but from a physicality standpoint, are they in top shape? Are they ready to go back? You know, so much of athleticism is built upon those games. And so without having that physical contact once a week or even several times a week, you know, what is that doing to their bodies? You know, I'm sure that I don't know if they've, you know, been able to practice as much as they would like, but you kind of have to, you know, put that in your mind, is maybe going to cause some of that, you know, that physicality to diminish a little bit.
But the beauty about that is, which I'm not going to say it's a real beauty, but every other team is going to do the same.
Oh, absolutely.
Thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then someone else said, I can't recall who said it. Maybe it was Chris Kerber. He's a radio play-by-play announcer for the Blues. But he said, you know, with baseball, with basketball, soccer, you can just go out to a park and play that sport.
That's true.
You can't just go out to an ice rink and do your. No matter who you are, you're not gonna really see a Sidney Crosby or Ovechkin have a big old ice hockey rink at their home.
Right. Well, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
It would be nice, but
right. So the level of the playing field is going to be the same.
oh, absolutely.
So it's
it'd
going
be
to be
the
all
same,
about
for sure.
who trains the best, who
Yeah.
who conditions the best. That's going to be the beauty of, hopefully, if they do come out of this pandemic and play, that's going to be the beauty of this next few months of this grind, because it's going to be a grind.
Yeah, absolutely. But I do hope that they give them at least a couple of. I don't know much about hockey. I'm not well versed enough to know, but to me it would make sense to almost do like some sort of scrimmages just to kind of get back in that groove and just,
Yeah.
you know, because you have to think about safety as well. You know,
Right.
when you haven't been active for so long, what happens the first time you do something? You might pull a muscle, or you know, you might break something. So I think that's a possibility. So I would love for them to, you know, be able to have those conversations and figure out ways, okay, how can we bring them back safely? Because everybody's been, you know, on the same playing field. We've all been sitting and wondering and waiting to see what can happen. But, you know, keeping safety in mind and making sure that their personal well-being is taken care of before we just thrust them back into this, you know, to this world that they were used to.
And Joe, what sense does it make to you want to practice social distancing once you get into the arena, but knowing that you're playing a physical sport?
Yeah, I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I don't know. They were talking about that. I don't know if you've seen it the other night. Was it Sports Center, the different GMs or the different commissioners talking. They were talking about that, and they talked to Patrick Kane about it because he was one of the players that they talked to. And I mean, they're just worried about, they're just being really like strict to when you get to the arena, right when you get there, right when you leave. And that's their biggest concern. Like if you don't have it going into it, because you can't take away hitting and checking in hockey. So I mean, as long as you don't have it going into it, then they're fine with that.
Yeah.
So now let's go right over to baseball. I want to go ahead, Joe, because I know that you have a whole lot to say. Platform to have a nice little rant about the best commissioner in all of sports, Mr. Rob Manfred.
Oh my gosh, okay. This guy has not done a single for someone, like, I just don't understand how you can make that much money and be in charge of all of baseball. He's added the instant replay. He's added, now you can't have so many mound visits. He's added, he wants to do the whole an extra inning, start the runner at second. Like, name one good thing that this guy has done for baseball.
I can't.
Me either.
crickets. Exactly, and that's what I'm saying. And then how can you say one day there's going to be 100% a baseball season, and then 4 days later say I'm not 100% confident there's going to be baseball on national television both times?
Yeah, and like you said, last week he's saying, "Oh yeah, I'm 100% confident we're gonna have baseball," and then yeah, turn right around. Not so sure.
Yeah, that was probably him speaking haphazardly, and then once those cameras were off, someone was like, "Dude,
What are you saying?"
And I can't. What was I gonna say? Oh, and then he tries to negotiate, something else with us. Like everyone's just saying when and where. They just so like I said, that needs to hold my breath because it's been a depressing summer without the game I love the most, and I can't get my hopes up anymore.
yeah,
If baseball does not come back this season, it's very possible that because of the union, what the collection bargaining agreement, collective
Like the CBA or whatever?
yeah, collective bargaining agreement. It's possible that if they don't have a season this year, that they may not have one for 2 years because of this CBA agreement, in which once again the players and the Major League Baseball Players Association and the league itself owners aren't seeing eye to eye, and the players are going to want leverage. In which your son says you're doing a great job. If there's not a season this year, how?
I mean, if baseball comes back, I'm gonna love it regardless. Because, like I said, it's before Brendan or Star Wars or the Jonas Brothers, everything in the world that I love. Like, baseball was there first, okay? That was my first true love. So, regardless, even how stupid Manfred makes the game, I'm still going to watch it. But I'm not going to sit here and lie and say that people aren't going to leave. Manfred's biggest thing was trying to make kids more, like, intrigued into the game. Well, what are they going to watch?
right.
Like he's the anti-Christ for baseball. I said that to Brendan the other day. He's just making everything worse. I think that there'll probably be another strike if it gets to that, and that documentary with Sosa McGuire.
I was going to ask you that coming up.
That's what this all just kind of feels like, Stands are hard to fill now regardless, unless you're one of the bigger markets. But, like, back then, after the 90s strike games, even at the bigger markets,
Right.
it took steroids and a home run chase to get baseball back and thriving again. So, again, but, like, what's going to get fans out there?
What is something that, and I'll at you too, Jessica, if you have an opinion, what is something that they need to do better in regards to baseball to sell the game? Because it has to be one in regard, because like basketball, of course, look at how all the players are marketing that game.
Right.
Right. Hockey, you know about the Sidney Crosby. It may not be as strong as, of course, basketball, but the football, you know how that's marketed. What can baseball do, Joe and Jessica, to market that game better?
Well, one is put Mike Trout's face out there. I think we've talked about this before.
Right.
This guy's, when it's all said and done, is going to be right there by Babe Ruth. Like, he's the best there's ever been in our lifetime. We thought watching Albert Pujols was great. Mike Trout is far more better, or will be better by the time this is all said and done. And no one knows who he is. He's just an average-looking dude, and no one knows who he is. They need to put his face out there. Or even just people like Bryce Harper. Like, some people know who Bryce Harper is, but they just need to advertise their players more. They don't do that at all. Like, basketball and football, they're really good.
Part of it is you have to demographic to cater to, and I think when you're trying to build a fan base, who does it start with? Kids. You know, it's the kids who are going to be like, hey mom, can you take me to the game, and then you go, and then you find that when you're at the game, you're actually enjoying yourself, so then you're like, hey, we're going to go to the game again, you know, convincing the child is for them, but really it's for you. But when children are excited about something, especially a sport, well, what are they going to do? Kids from around the neighborhood, and they're going to start a game themselves, and then the more they start to enjoy it, then they're going to start watching, because now I want to emulate, you know, a player. I want to learn how to get my swing like theirs, or I want to know how to get the base faster, so they're going to watch, you know, their technique and their form. So I think there needs to be more of an effort in drawing kids in, because, you know, like Joe stated, football and basketball do a great job of putting their athletes out there, and those athletes are catering to kids. They're holding camps, you know, they're making silly videos, they're making TikToks, you know, which caters to kids, and they're, you know, they're on Fortnite, or, you know, this pandemic we saw basketball players playing, you know, NBA 2K against one another, and that's those kids, gets them involved and piques their interest. So I would like to see more of an effort from MLB, kind of figuring out how can we reach young people more.
Joe, if let's say the governor says everything is back open, even though we still got this pandemic, everything is back open, we can have a baseball game, and we have opening day tomorrow, and you can fill the stadium up, we'll be there in attendance.
I mean, I don't know. Watching the game right now, this stadium's packed, but like I've only been around maybe all family, and it's 10 people at the most, you know. So I don't know about thousands of people, but
50,000 people, and that's just inside. Because you know, outside now, especially with everything they got going on with the new developments at Ballpark Village, is gonna be even crazier now.
Like game maybe 5 or 6. And just keep watching the news to see effects from that, because I mean, as much as I go back to normal, there's just so much uncertainty still.
It is.
And I don't know that I would whatever it is.
yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I mean, even if there was like statistics saying that proven fact everything's gone and everything can go back to normal, I don't think people are just gonna gun ho go right back to it. You know, like people are gonna be iffy about it at first.
Let's see. So there was something that got your attention this past Monday, Joe, that you was like, we have some things to discuss on the show on Wednesday. Can you go ahead and let everybody know, because she's also a huge Houston Astros fan.
Okay.
So she saw
wearing my shirt right now.
so she saw some news that developed that caught her attention in the Major League Baseball world. Joe, go ahead and let everybody know what happened.
Well, apparently, Rob Manfred, again, his name pops up, might be covering up Yankees sign stealing since 2015. You know, the same thing that the Astros got in trouble for, and everyone in the world hates them now.
Sign stealing.
Oh. I hadn't heard that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, but nothing's gonna happen. Paying money for this not to be open up, and it's not as his beloved Yankees, so no one can hate the Yankees, of course.
The almighty Yankees doing some cheating.
Wow.
What did I tell you, though, back when this all started? There's other teams that are doing it.
Yep.
Apparently the Rangers and the Royals, all teams.
Besides the Cardinals.
But the Yankees had to do it back in 2015 against the Astros in the wild card, and the Astros weren't even that good back then. But guess what? The Astros sign stealing.
Hey.
Wow.
There's a famous song by this group called Escape, and they say everybody cheats, but you gotta know how, but you gotta know when.
It's one of my favorite songs.
Oh wow! So yeah, interesting Yankees. And then this just in, the players stated that if everything comes back this season, well not comes back but starts this season, that for the 2020 and 21 season, they want a universal DH. Feel about that?
Too. I think it was just going to happen, so why not just do it now, I guess.
Yeah.
But for the Cardinals, I think it really helped them out. You know,
Has to.
obviously with like Matt Carpenter. If they would have known this earlier, Jose Martinez would still be here.
Right.
But Matt Carpenter, I think, would have a comeback year if he was DHing and just played Tommy Edman the third.
Yep. The best thing for the team. So then you want to have to worry about not having a certain guy in because you can't get the lineup because
Right.
you're trying to, you know, please a certain guy. That's been our issue over the last few years. So that's what's up.
Yeah.
But other than that, man, Joe, it's been great talking to you again.
Great talking to you. It was fun.
Yeah, it's been a minute, and definitely look forward to talking to you again in 2 weeks. And I hope everything is well at the home. Tell Brendan I said what's happening and your family as well.
All right, will do.
All right, you have a good one.
Bye, Joe.
You too. Bye. Nice talking to you.
Yeah, get to our last segment, which is the final say. This is just whatever you want to speak to, sports related or not. There's something to get off your chest before we end the show. So the floor is yours.
Oh, wow. I think I would just want to leave that, you know, what's happening right now just in the country and just the environment that we are living in, to just remember at the end of the day, we have to love one another. And it starts with education. It starts with having conversations. We can't be so quick to judge because we don't want others to do that to us. And we have to just be able to spread more positivity, because if we let the negativity and the negative connotations and all of this riffraff just overwhelm us, we're not going to make any progress, and we're going to be worse off than where we started. And so, you know, have conversations with people that you love and care about. It is absolutely okay to disagree with one another. It is okay to have a difference of opinion. But by the same token, just have that mutual respect. And if you agree to disagree, then just leave it at that. But just love on one another. And if you have kids who are interested in sports, do what you can to make that happen. If you have a daughter or a son who's interested in cheerleading, I promise you there are many opportunities there. There are absolutely scholarships. They will completely pay for your full tuition if you come and cheer their program. So, you know, make sports and music and art a possibility for kids, because for a lot of them, that's where it's going to start, and that's what's going to make the difference.
And what I would say, and something that you brought up earlier in regards to HBCUs, in regards to life, get educated.
Absolutely.
Because
Absolutely, you have to.
it's too many times that we are lost,
Mm-hmm.
and you know we don't really have no response, no rebuttal,
Yes.
or no answers.
Yes.
Get educated.
Yes, and we have, unfortunately, a lost generation right now. We're trying to wrap our arms around and fuel them just with that notion and with opportunities. But I think you sometimes have to ask yourself, did we wait too late, you know, to start this? Did we wait too late to have some of these conversations? But definitely it starts with education from all facets, from all realms, from all cultures, from all individuals. We have to educate in order for things to get better, because you don't know what you don't know, and you can't fix what
Great job.
you
Great job. So that is our show. Next week, I'm sorry, not next week, but this Friday, we're gonna have V Talk special. in school.
Yep.
So we're going to have a good time with it. We hope that thanks for all the comments, all the love.
Yes,
Y'all definitely held
absolutely.
things down. And then next Wednesday, it will be an honor. It's going to be an honor. We will have another St. Louis legend played for Cardinal Ritter during those great times. Himself, Lauren Woods, Chris Carrowell, excuse me. Then he got drafted by the Washington Bullets at the time. And then the Wizards. No, actually, maybe it was the Wizards. Then the Bullets. Now the Wizards again. Whatever it is. But Jahadi White will be on the show,
Nice.
and he plans on being here in person in the getaway.
Nice.
We may have the guys back. We shall see. But we're doing big things. I hope y'all enjoy the new layout. Got plenty more stuff that's going to go down on the Platform Sports Talk Show. It gets better and better, guys. I'm trying to tell you, that's how we do it. But it's been an honor. Richie, thank you very much. You said it's an excellent program.
This was a lot of fun, and it's so necessary and so needed. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This was my vision from the get-go,
Yeah.
was just to provide people that opportunity, that voice, for people to hear the stories.
Yeah.
We didn't start off with always having guests. It was start off with me and my boy Sadal. Then Stan came along. Then Sadal had to step away to take care of, he wanted to work on his investment business, endeavors and everything. Then B. Becker came in. And all of a sudden, ever since like maybe September, every Wednesday we've had guests.
Good.
And we've had some esteemed guests. Got some more people coming up. Look, we lined up to August right now. Hear about
Coach McWoods.
Yes.
Yes, I will absolutely.
So we will definitely grab about
Good
that.
Yes.
But thank you everyone for tuning in. Your boy Smooth, and we have special guests.
Jessica Williams, soon to be Jessica Jones.
Hey now me, Mrs. All right, y'all. Shout out to B. Baker, Stan. Y'all be seeing it very soon. Platform Sports Talk Show. When it's about sports, it becomes our business, and business just picked up. And y'all have a good one. And we are out.